Welcome back to the Marine Corps Movie Minute, where we discuss the movie Heartbreak Ridge 1 minute at a time. On this Friday, we're discussing minute 30. The minute begins with Gunny Highway talking with Little Mary, and it ends with a civilian clad Gunny Highway walking into a bar. We get the continuing conversation between Tom Highway and Little Mary at the bar he walked into. I noticed the Jill Hollier song still pretty much in the background.
Yeah.
So that's still going. Still don't know which song it is though. From last minute, Little Mary said to Tom Highway, Aggie always kept a smile on your face. And his retort was, that was pain.
There was pain. Yeah, it sounded like he had a pretty rough breakup with his former wife. Well, we assume wife, but yeah, it seems to be the case. Alimony is mentioned.
Yes, in fact, he said he goes, well, if she wants more alimony, she's out of luck because he's so broke he couldn't get out of sight if it took a quarter to go around the world.
Yeah, and he was a Marine gunnery sergeant in the 80s. It's not like he was making buckets of money anyway.
So we talked about a few things earlier in the movie when he moved cross country from California to North Carolina. Now he only brought 2 bags.
Yeah, we understand why.
Right. So maybe that is why. Maybe he's broke. But I
Yeah.
was wondering, like, obviously he owes her alimony. I assume, let's just say half of his pay for shits and giggles. But what kind of expenses does he have? He doesn't have a car.
Yeah, it's clearly he doesn't have a car. He's taking bus rides and borrowing keys from his boss
Yeah.
to get to and from places. Luckily, he has a winning personality.
Yeah, making friends and influencing people. I was wondering about what a gunnery sergeant in 1983 made. So why is he so
Oh,
broke?
oh,
He literally has no overhead other than, as far as we know, alimony.
right.
So I did a little research, and currently, as of 2020, an E7, which is a gunnery sergeant, has a base pay of $3,021 a month.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, and if they've been in for over 26 years, they get a bump up to 5,429. Now, if we do some math for Marines,
All right, one crayon plus two crayons equals
right,
no crayons because we're hungry.
exactly. Somehow we ended up with a remainder. I don't know. Back in minute 10, his CO he mentioned he's had 24 years and then some, sir.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he doesn't have 26 years, so we'll put him at but this is current time.
Right.
And he probably receives extra for housing and food,
Mm,
and that's probably likely because, as we find out this minute, he's going to get his old room back at this bar.
right.
So he probably gets a little stipend, whatever you call it, for
Yeah.
living off base.
Right.
He probably also gets a little something for food.
Apparently, he's kind of a penny pincher. He's not like he's buying a lot of clothes or
No,
no. He's a pretty frugal fella.
well, as we said, he's everything he owns fits in that duffel bag, as far as we
Yeah.
know, the sea bag.
Either he's a giant mooch with a fucking Congressional Medal of Honor. he's,
Yeah,
he's a heroic mooch. He's the guy that's never had a pack of cigarettes in his life, but he smokes 3 packs a day.
right. Exactly. Hey, can I
There you
bum
go.
one off you?
Yeah, yeah.
So a current gunnery sergeant with special duties and all the extra stuff makes anywhere from $58,210 to 8711 or 111. That's just the average. But this is 1983. Well, they didn't have any charts available for 1983, so earliest chart I could find around that time frame was an effective date of August 1st, 1982, and this was according to militarybenefits.info. But in 1983, the base pay per month for a gunnery sergeant over 22 years was $1,583.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and they had an allowance for quarters. It said without a dependent, it was $213 a month. And yeah, it didn't mention anything about food, any extra for food. So yeah, let's say that's on average he makes about 1,700 a month.
I just want to go out there and say that our servicemen just really don't make nearly enough money for what they do.
That's such a brave stance.
I know, right? I should be a politician. Harry for president.
So stunning, so brave.
Yeah. It's just, man, I know we didn't make shit when we were in. We weren't starving or anything. Our biggest concern was having enough beer on the weekends. Like we would go hungry during the week. Remember that time we had to scrounge around and have somebody come up with a case of old E 800 and a brandy bottle?
Beggars can't be choosers.
No, well, it was a good weekend.
Well, that's what you do. You drink that skunk piss, and then the watered down cheap shit.
Right, prepayment weekend. That was like everybody's waiting to get paid. Oh, that sucked. Good times though.
Or if you were smart with your money, it would last.
Shit, fuck you. I was I was a boot marine, man. I didn't give a shit. I had a car payment, an insurance payment, and we had STDs, man. We had shits to do.
Yeah, you got to, as soon as you get the base, what's the first thing you do? You go out to the dealership that says no E1 and up.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, I was one of those. You knew Mean Green. You rode in
Mhm.
Mean Green a few times, yeah. Uh, Teal Green, Geostorm. I was one of those assholes that went right outside base. Literally, that was the dealership right outside Pensacola. Bought that fucking car for like a 20% interest rate.
Yeah.
I'm a I'm a giant asshole because I just had to have a car because I could. I can afford this. Because you can pay for something doesn't mean you can afford it. It doesn't mean you should have to pay it either.
Lots of people have 3 mortgages nowadays.
Yeah. Sell me a firehouse.
Um, that's funny because I did know a lot of people that were car poor, that you've heard of house poor. There was a lot
Yeah.
of people in the barracks that were car poor. I knew a few guys that they had some nice ass vehicles, but no
Uh,
money to put a gas into it, so they stayed in the barracks all the time.
yep. Yeah, I knew a few.
Back to Tom Highway and the minute. I don't know. I have no way to transition this shit.
No, no, this right here, no, we go off-roading. This is some guy having a picnic out in the woods, and all of a sudden a 4x4 comes barreling over the top of the trees.
Hey, I have no problem with off-roading. It's making that hard fucking left turn to get back.
Yeah, and this guy's do-do-do-do-do-do, he's having his little peanut butter sandwich on a little blanket, and all of a sudden here come you and I and Bigfoot and we're breaking the top of the trees. Anyway, where were we?
Meanwhile, back on the farm. Meanwhile, back at the Palace Inn. Meanwhile, meanwhile,
Meanwhile,
little Mary's, bugging Tom Highway to he's telling her he keeps telling her about Aggie. Hey, she's back, she's cocktailing over at the Palace
yeah,
and she's back in town.
yeah, playing hookup maker.
Right. So he's like, oh, I figured she'd be married to a general by now.
Remember that bitch you paid all that money to? I could tell you where you can find her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, that sounds like a romance made in heaven. She's just in there drinking her beer.
Yeah. um,
Fire started.
right, yeah, she's got that shit-eating grin on her face when he walks away.
Yeah.
I find it funny because she must know that Tom maybe still has a thing for Aggie or whatever.
Probably, yeah.
It sounds like they didn't have a very. I mean, we'll find this out as minutes go on. That they maybe didn't have the cleanness of break as we kind of talked about before.
Yeah.
And he's saying I don't want to give her alimony. Little Mary says something about she's back in town, and Tom Highway was like, I figured as much or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe he knew because remember we talked about him reading the magazines. Maybe he suspected,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it sounds like she moved away at some point and that she wasn't living in this area for whatever reason. She's back,
Yeah.
near base or whatever. And of course, she's just cocktailing. So she's like, she's in town. Go see her, basically.
Right.
Clint Eastwood deflects the whole time. He goes to drink his beer about 100 times, never even does.
No.
Totally deflects, picks his bags up, and kind of just starts walking away. But he's heading towards the back of the
Yeah.
bar. So I like the little exchange between the two of them. You gonna see her? Hell no. Can I run a tab on this? Hell
Hell
no.
no.
And then he goes, and I never caught this before. Again, this is the beauty of the headset. I love this.
Yeah,
Tough woman.
yeah,
Yeah.
tough woman.
Tough woman. Tough woman. Like he says it twice.
Yeah.
As he's walking away, just and she's got that's when she's got that shit eating grin on her face because she's fucking with him and she knows it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there you go. Maybe she knows he's got money trouble because she won't let him run a tab.
Exactly. Yeah, the reality is though, he probably has never paid for a beer in his life.
We cut to Gunny Highway, then going into the Palace Inn. We hear some rock music, a waitress walking by, and then that's really just it.
Yeah.
It just kind of ends. It's very brief. He's wearing civilian clothes. He's got a nice collar shirt on. He's walking in, and
He looked more comfortable in his camis and his uniform than he does in civilian clothes.
and this place looks like a dive bar.
You know what though? It reminds me of a lot of the bars that we went to. Kind of like Ruby's. Poops up there singing
Right.
karaoke, some shitty country song.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer these type of places myself. It's better, to me. I'd rather go here than a club.
Mm-hmm. You know, of all the bars we've seen in this movie so far, the one that I think I probably enjoy the most was the one that he and Little Mary are hanging out in, that marine bar. It's
Yeah.
quiet. There's just a couple people hanging out.
Yeah. I'd much rather go, like, especially if you're like going to catch up with somebody or just
Uh-huh.
kind of hang out. That's the better place. If you want to
Right.
go out, like the Palace Inn looks like it'd be a kind of a fun place if you're just going out, hear some music,
Yeah.
whatever, something like that. Be not too bad. But
It's kind of funny though that there's that whole big clear walkway. Have you ever been to a bar where there's a nice clear walkway?
not on a Friday night.
Nope. That is a giant negative, sir.
Even some of the scummier ones I've been to fill up pretty quick.
Yeah. We've been to some coming ones.
Well, I had some notes about the Palace Inn for next minute, but you know what? I might just go ahead and discuss it right now.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Let's introduce the Palace Inn as a character. Let me guess. Is it in Southern California?
It's funny you say that.
How many bars have you been to that weren't in a strip mall in North Carolina?
I've been to plenty, but I've been living in North Carolina a long time. Now, ones outside of base or in the smaller towns, that's another story.
Yeah. You go to a bar and tell your friends, "Hey guys, I'll be next door." The next door is just another bar, just as dirty and just as scummy.
I found an LA Times article from 1986.
Really?
Yeah, it was talking about Clint Eastwood's production staff looking for a rough and tumble tavern where a superstar actor, director, and small town mayor could shoot a bar scene for his latest film. And they went straight to the Swallows Inn in San Juan Capistrano.
Capistrano. Yep, San Juan Capistrano. Yep. Okay. It's like horse country out there, from what I understand. There are a lot of horse ranches out that way.
They said at the time it was a freewheeling saloon with a local landmark for about 40 years. It's sports and a lively crowd with local cowboys, Marines from Camp Pendleton, and a sprinkling of bikers and tourists.
Hmm.
And they said it has a rowdy reputation.
That would seem to fit.
The article basically just goes on to talk about how they scouted the place and they were like, this is perfect. And they said, it's most of the film was being shot in Camp Pendleton on the coast of San Clemente. It was on the recommendation of some of the Marines they used as extras in the film that the Swallows Inn was selected as a location. So some of the co-producer went there and was like, yeah, this place is great.
I wonder if it was a couple of those Marines that we saw in one of the previous scenes.
I'm guessing there's spoiler alert, there will be some other Marines coming up soon.
Ah,
So in that bar, so I'm guessing, yeah.
it's very likely.
I mean, I'm just going to paraphrase. I'm not going to read the whole article. It's pretty long, but basically they were saying that there was a rumor that Clint Eastwood was going to film there, so like a whole bunch of people showed up
Oh,
because they wanted regulars and they didn't want to put a bunch of whatever in the bar. They wanted like
normal people.
yeah, they liked the authentic look of the bar, so they were like, hey, so they actually got together with like the bar owner and like the bouncer and all that, and we're like, all right, narrow it down to like 40 people, and they ended up picking a bunch of the regulars basically.
Oh, right on. That's kind of cool though too, because hey, like you're a regular, right? You got the opportunity. You go to this bar all the time, and hey, guess what? Your favorite place in the world that you go to hang out and spend some of your spare money and your free time. And hey, oh, by the way, tonight Clint Eastwood's going to be filming a movie there, and you don't want to get kicked out because some shit dick that just showed up from out of town because he just heard something somewhere shows up and decides he wants to be in a movie. Like, no, man, you're sitting. I'm Norm. That's my seat. Get out of my seat.
Exactly.
I kind of appreciate that. That's kind of cool. They don't really make movies like that anymore. Now they kind of film everything. It's like, no, you're not hot enough to be in this film. So sorry. Come back tomorrow night when we're not filming.
Exactly.
I say that because I was never hot enough to be in a movie.
Right. No, but you're just like Norm. So I found a place on Tripadvisor, and a lot of people were like, "Hey, it's great. It was a nice, cool little place. They used it in Heartbreak Ridge. $2 beers."
Cheap beer. It's cheap beer because it's cheap beer.
Yeah, best dive bar around. Great bands and karaoke. Bring cash. They don't take credit cards.
Yeah.
It's a country bar, a biker bar, local hangout, everything in between. And I actually did find a picture that I'll post if I remember to in the Facebook page, the Quarter Deck.
Yeah.
It's a picture of Clint Eastwood walking into the bar. So from when they were filming as the Palace Inn, and then it's a picture of the bar, the Swallows Inn. What it looks like today. Basically what it looks like today. So
Right.
pretty neat.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like what post those little pictures. That's pretty cool.
And we're only in the bar for about 10 seconds or so, 10 or 15 seconds. So, and of those 10 or 15 seconds, it's just somebody walking around. Not somebody. It's Tom Highway walking around, kind of looking around, taking the sights in.
Yeah, is that his wife, or is that Aggie when he first walks in?
Yeah. Well, I figure we'll talk about her as we actually really get to see her. But yes, he walks in, he pauses, he looks around, and he takes a step forward into the bar, and then you see a waitress in pinkish, dark pink, whatever,
Yeah.
reddish top walk by, and that's Aggie.
Okay.
But we don't know that because they really do a good job of showing there was another waitress walking away when he first walked in, and then she's just another waitress walking into frame, but up to the bar. But it was no different than the other lady. So
Right.
if you didn't know she was an actress, it could have just easily been
Yeah.
background waitress number two,
Yeah, exactly. And you don't know who's who.
because we know the movie and
Oh no, this was legit. I wasn't really sure if that was her or not. It looked like her, but
yeah,
yeah, you see just waitresses walking around and kind of popping in and out of the frame. So I just wasn't sure if that was the same one, if that was the actress or not playing the character, or if that was just somebody else. Because it's been a while since I've seen the movie in complete. All right, am I boring you?
oh, you know it.
What are you, my wife?
I gave you shit for it one night. Now I'm doing it
Yeah,
again.
no, no, I get you, brother. You're ahead. You're an hour ahead of me, so I believe me, I understand.
Oh, and then we're losing an hour tonight too.
Yeah, this is hell week.
Right. And then it's a full moon, and then Friday the 13th. So
Yuck.
people can figure out when we're recording this.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah,
Yeah.
you need a decoder ring.
And yeah, and I don't want to, this is going to be a timeless podcast. I don't want to date it, but
Yeah,
holy shit, we're all going to die from coronavirus.
yeah. Yeah, I might have a Scotch virus thing going on. I might be hung up tomorrow.
I was just going to say, alcohol apparently kills it, so I think we're good.
I think we're immune.
I think
Good.
you are fucking, like, we're going to take your blood and, like, make a fucking
Serum. Yeah.
serum, right? Make the antidote. All right. Well, let's do some plugs.
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 Absolutely plugs. Who are we plugging?
Let's plug ourselves.
All right.
Let's plug the Marine Corps Movie Minute Quarter Deck.
Yes, everybody, please come check out the Marine Corps Movie Minute Quarter Deck on Facebook. If you got any feedback for the show, thoughts, stories you want to share, hell, we'd love to. You know what? We'd actually like to be able to hear and tell some stories. If any of you served the Marines or knew some Marines, or even just have any cool stories, we'd be glad to hear about them. And they may get mentioned uh, on the
On the podcast.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks again, Big Jim, for pointing out our failings. It's
Actually, you know what? There's a couple mentions I want to do since it's Friday. I'm glad
hmm,
you brought up Big Jim again. Um, First off, Big Jim posted in our Marine Corps movie minute quarter deck. Big Jim, friend of the show.
yep,
He said, "I've been meaning to reach out to you regarding Gunny's scar on his neck because we brought this up in previous minutes about
yeah, on
noticeable is
his left side of his neck. Yeah.
yeah. I read an interview with Clint talking about Gunny's voice. He modeled the voice after his uncle and had a voice box injury. He then added the scar for the movie to explain his voice. And then, of course,
Interesting.
he added, right, right.
Right.
So that was cool. I'm glad he reached out to us with that. So, not that I didn't believe him, but I did a little Googling to kind of confirm it. And sure enough, I found a reference, and it was somebody else referenced it, but they actually cited the source that they had
Mm.
from an interview published in a German film magazine, Steadicam, number 10, fall 1988, reprinted in Clint Eastwood interviews, page 150, 150. So if anybody wants to look into any of this,
Dig in. Feel free.
it says, in Heartbreak Ridge, Eastwood definitely worked on making his character sound as if one of his war wounds might have affected his voice. He has a scar on his neck, and as you probably noticed, he told an interviewer, and this is now where the quote goes in from these sources I just sourced. The voice in Heartbreak Ridge was my uncle's. He had damaged his vocal cords and always had to talk rather slowly and deeply. So he always had an embittered expression. As a kid, I imitated him when I played gangsters. He was a nice guy. He was a nice guy, and he didn't like that at all. But I recall it well, so that wasn't hard at all. I spoke with this voice for days, and I didn't notice it at all. So yeah, Big Jim was once again. Big Jim was right.
Yeah, Big Jim. Big Jim to the rescue.
Yeah. So I think yeah, he's our unofficial third man, just just from
Yeah.
correcting the record for us.
I mean, I'd heard stories that Clint Eastwood liked he was mimicking Marilyn Monroe with some of his voice for some of his movies because of he wanted a masculine version of Marilyn Monroe. However, this tonal quality is not quite the same, but I didn't really know if this was a military thing, a Marine thing, or just a Clint thing.
Yeah,
But
I always.
that
Oh,
kind of
go
makes sense too. No, that does kind of make sense though.
Yeah, I always chalked it up to just a Clint Eastwood thing, but if you thought about it, a lot of drill instructors get that real raspy voice from all the yelling they do, and they damage
Yeah,
their vocal cords.
right.
So a lot of them talk with a real deep voice, you know,
Yeah,
and but
their voice gets destroyed by the time they're like 25.
right, but he wasn't a drill instructor as far as we know, so it didn't make sense. And of course, like you said, he saw the scar. So that was just neat, and of course, it's even neater to know it's just based on something he did as a kid, and it's basically his uncle sounded like that, and he just, maybe the uncle didn't like him doing it, but it sounds like he was honoring. So it was kind
Right.
of neat.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. You know what I'm kind of curious on now you bring it up. Um, we listed off some of his ribbons.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, were Marines at that in that time period, were they obligated to do a B billet? So was it drill instructor, Marine security guard, or was it embassy duty? Like, did he have any of those ribbons on his alphas?
No, I don't think so. He had
I wonder if
no.
he dodged that bullet by getting a CMH. No, you don't have to do a B billet. We'll just keep you from getting kicked out of the Marine Corps for punching an officer.
Yeah, true. I mean, obviously, he served in a lot of combat roles, and of course, I'm sure. I'm gonna guess. This is a total speculation.
Yeah.
Somebody knows better. Join us in the Marine Corps movie minute quarterdeck and tell us.
Big
But
Jim, jump in.
I'm going to speculate that, this dude was in Korea, Vietnam,
Yeah.
and all this stuff. You got a war going on. They're not going to force somebody out to go, to go do recruiter duty or DI duty.
Yeah.
If they're in a combat unit and they, especially if you keep volunteering to go to these combat, something tells me they're gonna find an exception to the rule, even if it was a rule.
Right. Especially exceptionally decorated.
Yeah, and I'm basically gonna say it probably wasn't a rule then, but this is totally just a guess. So
Yeah, I mean, it's completely possible, man, because this was 10 years before you and I enlisted.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
So,
that's the one thing. I mean, times they constantly are changing, and it's changed
yeah.
so much since we've been in.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, if there was some junior, if some current day Marines listening to this, they might think we're complete morons.
They're junior Marines. Fuck them. They're junior.
Some fucking gunnery sergeant,
Yeah,
but
yes.
so one other shout out I wanted to give because since we've mentioned our Marine Corps Movie Minute Quarterdeck a few times, Facebook page, Quarterdeck.
Yep.
I wanted to thank our good friend Sarah Bro.
Yeah.
She single-handedly increased our numbers to that group, which I'm hoping is turning into listeners as well.
Yeah.
But she single-handedly like quadrupled our numbers overnight easily. She went out and made sure that all the Marines that she was friends with were aware of the podcast, and then because of that, one of those people then literally turned right around and did the same thing, and so now we have quite the number of people at the very least following us on the quarter deck and interacting with some of them. We share memes and we talk about some stuff that we reference in the minute. As far as just recently we had a reference to Macho Man, so of course we were posting some Macho Man promos about what we talked about, just stuff like that.
That's awesome. And you know what? We kind of really appreciate that.
Oh yeah,
It's cool, especially active service or active duty Marines now currently. That means a lot to us too, because that's the new generation. Those are the ones that, well, I hate to say it this way, but the older Marines were the ones that we looked up to when we were coming up. Now they're going to give us a peek into what's the Marine Corps has become since we've been gone,
yeah.
you know, and and they're being involved and being interested and embracing it because it's really easy to like want to hate the suck while you're in, but then you embrace the suck when you're out. Um, that's kind of cool, man. That's pretty rad. I'd like to see. Sorry, I just had a computer reboot in the background. Um, doodaloo.
You unprofessional bastard.
You listen. How dare you? But yeah, that is incredible, and thank you a lot. And I know Sarah. I didn't know her as well as you did, but I did know her, and she was cool. She was cool back in the day, and she's incredibly cool now because that's cool that she's sharing what we're trying to do with Marines these days.
Yeah, she was always my movie buddy. I mean, we hung out quite a bit, and it's I just can't thank her enough.
Mm-mm.
And so we wanted to publicly do that, and then also it's just fitting that this is still movie related, and she's still helping us out.
Yeah.
So thanks again. We appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another friend of the show.
Another one. Now all she has to do to get all she has to do to get Big Jim status is correct us on something.
Yeah, just
Tell us we're wrong.
tell us we're wrong. Exactly. That's what I was saying. No, that's easy. We get
Yeah.
a lot of chances for people
Oh
to
man,
step
I
up,
can't go 10 minutes in my real life with somebody telling me I'm wrong.
right?
Yeah.
Are you gonna join me on Monday for the next minute?
Oh hell yes.
Can I run a tab?
Hell no. Marine Corps movie minute. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing gets by you.